Welcome, everybody, to the Jobbing Out Podcast. I am your host, Nelson Carroll, also known online as Vocal Artificium, and we have our co-host here today, Alex, also known as DJ Monochrome. Right?
Howdy, y'all.
And today we are talking about Monday Night Raw for April 15th, 2024, and man, do we have a lot to talk about tonight. I was only half paying attention to the Raw, it feels like, with the amount of notes I was taking. So, starting off, we had already heard news earlier in the day that Rhea Ripley had been injured on last week's episode of Raw and that she was potentially vacating her title tonight. And in my opinion, unfortunately, that came to fruition as Rhea did in fact vacate her title tonight live on Raw, in which afterwards she had a confrontation with Liv Morgan and then afterwards went back into the locker room and was comforted by Judgment Day in a very touching moment, actually. But definitely they're building for a huge program between Rhea and Liv, which is exciting. But sad. This is not how I wanted Rhea's championship to end. It needed to end with a really good contender. And I really feel that this is just, this was not how it should have ended, but unfortunately we can't do much about that at this point. That was unavoidable. WWE can't do much about it. That being said, when I was watching it tonight with my roommates, one of my roommates mentioned that there was a potential Uncle Howdy glitch style tease during Rhea's promo, and I don't remember. I didn't see it. Did you see it?
Well, I saw the glitch. I just didn't get to scan the QR code.
Well, no, I'm not talking about the one that we'll get into later. She said she had seen one during Rhea's promo.
I didn't see that one.
Yeah, see, I didn't see it either. So I don't know if maybe that was just a trick of her eyes or if there's something else that we didn't see. That being said, we will get to that later, though. Immediately afterwards, Sheamus returns in his first match since he had an amazing final match with, or had an amazing match, which was Edge's final match in WWE, now Adam Copeland in AEW. And great match tonight with Ivar. I love seeing Ivar work. Can't wait to see him in a North American Championship match against Obafemi tomorrow night.
That's happening tomorrow?
That is tomorrow.
Oh, hell yeah.
Really well done. Glad to see Sheamus back. Can't wait to see where they go with him in the future. Would love to see him maybe in the Intercontinental Championship picture, maybe in the U.S. title picture. Who knows? With the draft coming up, there is endless possibilities for what could happen for any superstar, really. After this, there's a spot. Triple H comes out and introduces that replacing the Raw tag team titles are going to be the new World Tag titles, which was presented with another great R-Truth segment where he talked about Tommaso Ciampa being a magician and revealed some new tag titles, which I personally think look great. I love their look. Gorgeous, in my opinion. Your thoughts?
I love the way they look. They look like they were straight out of WCW, and I honestly love the way they look like the Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion. I think that's the right belt.
No, it looks more like the Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah, that one.
The one that,
looks like the Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah. But, and then immediately after that, they had a triple threat tag match to determine the number one contenders between DIY and New Day, and the Creed Brothers. I was honestly hoping that the Creed Brothers went over in this match, but I don't hate to see DIY go over. I love Gargano and I love Tommaso Ciampa or Shawn Michaels and Triple H. that being said, can't wait for that match. I think it's going to be great. Yeah, during that match, we had a major tease for what I'm only assuming is going to be an Uncle Howdy return. We will get into that towards the end of this because I really just want the closing out of this episode to be entirely focused on that tease. There is a spot afterwards, a backstage segment, where I believe it was Kathy Kelly was interviewing Drew McIntyre, or really talking to Drew McIntyre, as he didn't say a word, as he was watching a promo video about Damian Priest and his World Heavyweight Championship win, in which Drew McIntyre's response was to laugh maniacally for several seconds and then kick the TV in and then stalk off. Nothing super special there, I don't think, but it was just, he seems to be descending into some sort of madness, which is, is always great. We love to see crazy people on WWE TV. Next up, we have Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell versus Ivy Nile and Maxine Dupree. This was that match that you could tell was going to be the determining factor between whether or not Indy was going to remain a face and Candice was going to continue being a heel, or was Indy going to join Candice with her heel tactics. And it ended up being, towards the end of the match, that Indy cheated just a little bit, caused a dirty win. And honestly, I'm interested to see how that goes. I don't think the main roster fans are really behind, we're behind them enough as a tag team for them to really care if they started feuding. So I think having them just become a heel team was a good call. Yeah. Personally. I love Candice and Indy. I love them to death. But I also realize that the rest of the WWE universe doesn't necessarily love them as much as I do. Which is fine. Everybody's entitled to their own opinions, even if I think that they're missing out on some great wrestlers. But, to each their own.
Everyone's entitled to their own opinions, unless they're wrong.
Right. Well, I wouldn't say that.
No.
But that being said, Damian Priest is seen backstage barking orders at the Judgment Day, seeming to take a leadership role, which is interesting. And I was wondering if maybe this Rhea being gone will segue into a program where Damian goes from being there are no leaders in Judgment Day to now he's the leader of Judgment Day. And then maybe when Rhea comes back, she finds that Judgment Day's not quite as friendly as they were when she left. It'd be kind of interesting as a storyline. It's what we call, my brain thinks that when Rhea was deemed medically unfit to compete in wrestling matches, that Triple H's brain went, long-term booking. So immediately afterwards, Andrade versus Dominic Mysterio. Andrade wins the match, and that was a great match. I think they both did quite well. Love Dominic as a performer, and Andrade as well. And afterwards, Dominic and JD beat down Andrade, and Andrade is saved by a run-in from Ricochet, which I was surprised by, and now they've confirmed that Ricochet and Andrade will be facing JD and Dominic next week on Raw in a tag match. I doubt that tag team's gonna go anywhere, because I think Andrade's too good for singles, he's too hot right now for singles action to put him in a tag team, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can see that.
So, I don't think it's going to last long, but it'll be a fun match for sure. I'll never complain about watching Ricochet wrestle, so...
Yeah, there's nothing to complain about.
Exactly. There's a backstage segment where I think Kayla Braxton maybe was... I like to try and give flowers to the backstage correspondents, but I always forget who's doing backstage correspondence. So I apologize if I'm getting these names wrong. But Kayla Braxton, I believe, was asking Jey Uso on how he feels about what's going on in the Bloodline, as last SmackDown, the Bloodline seemed to have a fracture as Solo and debuting Tama Tonga attacked Jimmy Uso and left him in a state where Paul seems to be extremely concerned for the well-being of the Bloodline. And this Friday, when we discuss SmackDown, I'm sure we'll have a lot to discuss about the Bloodline. But Jay seems to sympathize with Jimmy, but also doesn't really want to help, which, you know, in all fairness, understandable. Why would he want to help?
Got hit way too many times, too many match interferences.
Yeah, but he seems to be really sympathizing for his brother, and I think we're going to end up seeing a Jimmy face turn before too long when it comes to the Bloodline storyline. After this, we have a Chelsea Green and Piper Niven versus Caden Carter and Katana Chance match. And, you know, every time, I hate to say this, every time Chelsea is in a match, I figure it's a foregone conclusion that she's going to lose. And then I remembered that Piper Niven's back. And they were women's tag champions for a very long time. And good ones at that, in my opinion. And they pulled a win tonight, which was great. Chelsea celebrated like she had just won the main event of WrestleMania. But you know what? It was a great match. I think they did well. I do really hate to see Katana Chance and Caden Carter taking another L. But, you know, at the end of the day, people got to lose sometimes. We'll just have to see where they're going with it. I hope they just don't waste them as a potential superstars, but, you know, everybody can't be in the limelight all the time.
Yeah.
We had a Cody Rhodes promo in the middle of the show, which is unusual for Cody to be promoing in the middle of a show. But he comes out and he's introducing Jey Uso for his match against Finn Balor, and lets him know that if Jay needs any help with combating the Judgment Day, he will return the favor for the fact that Jay helped him against the Bloodline. And Jay responded by thanking him, but saying that he didn't want any help and he wanted to do this on his own. And Cody laid down some dad jokes and then left. We cut to a Nia Jax promo where she is talking about how she's going to be taking the women's championship and that nobody's going to be able to stop her. Which, by the way, I forgot to put this in my notes for tonight, but Liv also cut a similar promo earlier in the night about how this is this attack on Rhea from last week is just the beginning of her revenge tour, and that she's coming for the women's world title. So are they going to do a tournament for this or something like that? It sounds like that's probably what they're going to do. Yeah. I would think a tournament maybe leading up to Backlash is what we're looking at, which, I'm not going to hate to see. I'm just going to hate to see that Liv and Nia are going to be the main event. I love Liv, and I like Nia now that she's returned. But I would love to see maybe some other women's stars getting a chance at the world title, get thrown into the picture of getting a world title. And maybe they will. The draft is coming up. I keep forgetting the draft's coming up. Maybe they will. Maybe we'll get Jade Cargill. Maybe we'll get Bianca Belair, Naomi. Who knows? Io Sky. Maybe she wants to go after a different world title. So we don't know.
All things are possibilities.
Yes. Jey Uso versus Finn Balor with Jey winning. After the match, Damian confronts Jey, and then Judgment Day comes in and beats him down. However, Damian seems to make a point that he's not beating down Jey. Like, he very obviously did not lay a hand on Jey at all. I think Finn kind of noticed it, but didn't really say anything. And then Jey rolled out of the ring and did some beatdowns on Judgment Day, and then escaped out through the arena exit, like the fan exit, and got to the the front door, and finds Sami Zayn outside staring up at the arena, and Sami cuts a short, passionate promo about how this is he watched his first show in this arena 20-something years ago, and now he's back, and he's the Intercontinental Champion. And then he comes back in. The camera work was great. This transition was great. I think you mentioned it, and everybody else we were watching with mentioned. Why don't you go ahead and describe? Yeah.
The camera work of following Jay from the ring, going outside of the ring to kind of like the main halls of the building, I guess, with all the crowds, and then meeting up with Sami, and then Sami going watch my first match here, and I'm going in as the Intercontinental?
Intercontinental.
Yeah. The Intercontinental title championship, and I'm gonna go the same way into this building the first time or whatever. Can't remember the full sentence, but walked into the front door and threw a trash can.
Yeah, and the camera followed the exact path that Jay took out.
Yes.
To send Sami back in, which was loved that camera work. I've been loving the production quality and the camera work that's been going on in WWE as of late, and I want them to continue doing it. And then we have Gable versus Sami for the Intercontinental title. The entire arena is booing Gable. Nobody likes Gable, and that's understandable. Hometown hero, everybody loves Sami, and nobody likes Gable here. As Gable's leaving to go to the ring, Bronson Reed makes mention that he confronts Gable and tells him that whoever wins the match is going to have to face him because he'll be challenging them for the Intercontinental Championship. Great technical match. As usual, everything that Chad Gable does in the ring is phenomenal. And after a long, grueling match, Sami pulls out a retention with the title. And as he's celebrating, he lays the title in front of Chad and grabs Chad and comes to raise his hand in the air, and then Chad instead raised Sami's hand in the air quickly, and then walks off, and then Sami goes to celebrate with his family, and then Chad Gable attacks him from behind, and we've officially had a Chad Gable heel turn on Raw, which I was not expecting. It was in the back of my mind, and I didn't really want it, and I wasn't expecting it, but I'm going to be interested to see how they handle it, especially with the Alpha Academy, and I'm just interested to see what the motivations behind heel Gable are. What's the motivation for, is it just he's lost too much? He's just done. He's tired of losing. I mean, that could be it.
Those are all really valid things. I think it is, he's tried to prove himself to his family so many times and has lost so many times in trying to, I guess, show his daughter or prove something to his daughter or family. And he's lost every opportunity and every chance to prove that. And I think he kind of snapped in this last match of that pressure.
Which, that's a good heel turn. That's a good heel turn bit. So, yeah. Interested to see how that goes. And that concludes Raw, with the exception of we're going to talk about the Uncle Howdy QR code. Now, my other roommates, one of whom will be hosting this episode, or this podcast, co-hosting with me tomorrow night for NXT, did a little digging with this, and especially my roommate Bethany did the majority of research on this. So the QR code glitched up with a image of a black raven surrounded by the symbol of Pluto. The QR code took you to some indescribable looking text, when layered on top of each other, created a URL for WWE.com, which I will be putting the URL in the description of this podcast. And the URL takes you to an image which I'll throw up on screen for people who want to look at the video for a second. It looks like an image of possibly Pluto. There's no laurel wreath. It looks kind of like Julius Caesar or something like that, but there's no like laurel around the head. So perhaps Pluto, and a torch casting a shadow of the image of the Black Raven with some with a design over the top of it. There was also a video in that, and you can watch it in the link. It was some more Black Raven imagery. I'd have to watch it again. I can't remember off the top of my head what it looked like. From what I remember also is apparently the file name of this image or the QR code, one of the two, is the file name is You Forgot About Us. And I believe there was some other hidden message in there that said, patience, our time has almost come, or something like that, along that lines. Really good stuff. This is very akin to that White Rabbit stuff from 2 years ago that they did with Bray. Super excited for this. This build is already great, and it's literally been like a week and a half. With the momentum that they're already getting with this, it feels like there's a potential that they could debut this at Backlash. I hope not. I feel like this is something that needs to crescendo later at something like SummerSlam. But maybe Backlash? That being said, other news that I want to cover today that also involves Uncle Howdy is that 3 people closely related to Bray Wyatt's story are having some interesting rumors thrown around about them. Eric Rowan this week was pulled from any matches that he was wrestling on the indie circuit due to contractual obligations. He was also, on top of that, spotted in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is famously where WWE talent go to do their wellness checkups. So there is a potential that Eric Rowan could be returning. Braun Strowman recently mentioned in an interview that he is ready to come back to WWE, and all he needs is for the doctor to give him an all-clear sign. So Braun Strowman could be returning to WWE. And then Alexa Bliss, of course, back when it was announced that SummerSlam would be in Cleveland, Ohio, there was a fan that tagged her on Twitter and asked her if she would be showing up to SummerSlam, and her response was, sure, in all lowercase with a period at the end. And then I think a video surfaced of her training in someone's gym. I can't remember who it was. So there's always a potential that Alexa Bliss could be returning as well and have some involvement. She mentioned in the Bray Wyatt documentary that doing stuff with Bray was the most fun she ever had in her career and her favorite parts of her wrestling career. So it wouldn't be a surprise to me if she came back doing stuff with Uncle Howdy, Bo Dallas. That's all I've got for tonight and Raw this week. Great Raw. Great night. Loved watching this from beginning to end. I'd love to have my co-host sign off as well. However, it seemed that he had a phone call come up and has now left the room. So just me tonight saying good night. Thanks for tuning in to the first episode of the Jobbing Out podcast, and hope to see you all more frequently. Once again, this is Nelson Carroll signing off, and I'll catch you all in the next episode.